Hey everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamline Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. Tonight we are talking about contacts. I get a lot of people that ask me whether or not they should be putting their contacts in custom fields in Clio, or if they should be using them as related contacts in Clio. And so we're going to take a look at some of the what the differences are, and then where we should be putting our contacts. So let's head over to the Clio screen here. And I've got a transaction pulled up here. This is a real estate transaction. And as you know, those of you that practice real estate, there are a lot of people involved in real estate transactions. So this is a great example to talk about contacts. So generally speaking, I do recommend that we house most of our contacts as related contacts in a matter. So that would mean that once they're inputted into the matter, they're going to show up right here on the right-hand side in this column. And so of course at the top I'm going to have my client and all their contact information. But then beneath that, you'll see I have an attorney for the buyer, I have a real estate agent for the seller, and I have a real estate agent for the buyer. I'm listing as many people as I can that are involved in that transaction. And again, I'm having them listed as related contacts, as opposed to custom fields. If they were custom fields, they would be showing up here in the middle. And let's talk about the difference and why I lean towards having people listed as related contacts. Because if you're trying to track a contact in any manner, it's a lot easier to do when they are related contacts. So for example, if I want to see referral sources, if I want to see how many real estate deals I've worked with this real estate agent on, I can simply come to his contact and click on his name, and it's going to show me all the different real estate transactions that I've had with this person. So if this is a referral source, I can see all the different cases that he's referred to me. If this is an opposing counsel, I can see all the different cases that we've had together. If this is a judge, I can see all of the different cases I've had before this judge. Of course, that gives me a wealth of information as to how I can handle this contact, how I can interact with them, what experiences we've had in the past. And so that's a very nice feature to be able to just click on a person and see all of the cases or files that that they have worked with us on in the past. And so that's a really nice feature. I'm going to bring us back here to our contacts. We can use that again for referral sources, opposing counsel. It's also easier for people that I want to conflict check. So for example, an opposing party, if they are listed as a related contact, then I can simply come up to my search bar, I can start typing in the person's name, and when I get to them, I can see all the different cases they've been related to and how they've been related. So for example, if Christopher Markey was my opposing party, I typed his name in the search bar, I came up with this contact information for him, and I can see exactly what was his role in the other cases or other matters that we've worked with him in. So, maybe he was opposing party, maybe he was opposing counsel, whatever he was. So that's very helpful. And then, of course, I really want to be able to take that information that I have for these related contacts and use them in my document automation. And so having that information collected as a contact and being able to use it in my document automation is very nice, because now I can say, okay, I need Jane Doe's address, and I can go ahead and pull it off of her contact, as opposed to having to put her address as a custom field every time I work with her on a file. So if I'm putting opposing counsel's name, opposing counsel's email address, opposing counsel's phone number in a custom field every time I'm working with them, that's a lot more data that I'm going to have to fill into custom fields when I may already have it from working with them in the past. And so if their contact information is already connected to their contact card here, then I don't have to make an additional custom field. So it really cuts back on the number of custom fields that I need. Now, keep in mind, when I'm doing my document automation, I can pull any information from this contact. So I can pull not only their contact information, of course, but if I have any custom fields for that contact as well. Like for opposing counsel, often I'll use a bar number if we need to report that anywhere. So for my clients, sometimes I'll house their social security numbers or birthdays in case I need to put that into any documentation. And so being able to access that through that contact is very helpful. Now, in order to make it very easy to use for my document automation, I need to make sure that the relationships that I'm putting here are consistent throughout all of my cases. So for example, I can't say, opposing counsel for buyer on one file and then say attorney for buyer on the other, because then it won't feed correctly into my document templates. So my document templates will be set up with specific relationships, and if I keep those consistent across all my files, then those documents can be used across all my files. But if I come here and instead of saying r.e.agent, I now say real estate agent, now the document automation templates are not going to work on this file. So I need to make sure that on all my files, my relationships are consistent across the files. Now what that means is that, let's say if I have two opposing counsels, right? Let's say there's two defendants on a case. I need to make sure to say defendant 1 and then put their name, defendant 2 and then have their name. And then I have counsel for defendant 1 and put their name, counsel for defendant 2 and put their name, so that those match up and that I'm consistent in those relationships and those titles across all of my cases, so that I can go ahead and use those same document templates for all of my cases. Now, let's look at a situation where a custom field might be more appropriate for a contact. So for example, I've got a family law case here, and I've decided to use the custom fields for the children's names and the children's date of birth. Because the reality is I'm not going to need to do in most cases, I'm not going to need to have these children be contacted in any way. They don't need to be people that I'm conflict checking with. They don't need to be people, usually, that I'm marketing to or anything like that. So I don't need their name in a list. I just need it for this particular case for the documentation. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put in their name, their date of birth, and I'll have separate fields for that, because that's the little bit of information that I need in order to prepare these family law documents. Now, similarly, if we're looking at estate planning, sometimes I'll use custom fields to denotate the beneficiaries. Because if I'm not marketing to them, or if I don't need to do conflict checks, maybe I don't need to see how many files the beneficiary is on, because I'm probably not going to work with them very often. So in that case, I may feel more comfortable using a custom field. If in fact we do need that beneficiary's contact information, so for example, I need their address to put in the will or trust or something like that, or their contact information, then make sure when you're creating that custom field that you do a contact select custom field, so that when I go and I try and fill in the information for this for this custom field, it will ask me who is the person that I'm trying to put in here, and it's going to look for a Clio contact. That way it's got their contact information, their email address, their phone number, whatever else I need in there. And it's not just a name that I've written in there, because again, if we want to be able to access that contact information, it needs to be a Clio contact, and the custom field needs to be a contact select. Now, last thing that I want to prepare you for to get ready for your document automation is the idea that all of these custom fields and all of the related contact relationships need to be consistent, because those are the terms that we're using in our document automation. So for example, if I have a file where I have two beneficiaries, I need to make sure to fill out the rest of the fields saying not applicable, because those fields then, if I fill in that information, I will be able to have much stronger document automation, and I'll be able to code a template that says, well, we have two beneficiaries, because it sees two names and it knows that 3 and 4 are not people, right? So in order to make the document automation as powerful as possible, we do want to put in NA as the additional beneficiaries, or in the case of our related contacts, if we in fact don't have an attorney for the buyer, we would put in NA there as well, because we still want to make sure that that relationship is represented for the documents. And if in fact the defendant or opposing party is pro se, then our attorney for the buyer is going to be represented as NA. That way we know that there is no attorney, and that coding will tell the document templates that there is no attorney, and we can code it more successfully so that certificates of service will go to the pro se litigant as opposed to some non-existent attorney. So, good habits to get into. I hope this is helpful for you guys as you begin to build your contacts and as you begin to build your related contacts and custom fields. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and have a great evening. Thanks so much.